Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Tristana supplementary guide on the on-hit Tristana build. Now this build has kind of been popular for quite a long time. In fact, a lot of on-hit builds using like Terminus have been popular for a very long time. Like, of course, we have on-hit Tristana, you have on-hit Caitlyn, on-hit Jinx. A lot of these typically non-on-hit champions can kind of build on-hit when required. So let's kind of just get straight into it, right? So first item is going to be the Gluttonous Grease for the AD as well as the Omnivamp. And your next three items is basically the three on-hit core items, as I like to call them. Normally you go for first item Terminus, gives you AD attack speed, magic damage on hit, of course stacking resistances as well as stacking penetrations. Just overall, you get a lot from one item, although that one item is pretty pricey. And then, as usual, you always have kind of a debate of which item to go for second between Runans and the Rune King. Both ways kind of work depending on how many team fights there are and what you prefer. Right, so Runans, of course, gives you attack speed, allows you to attack 3 people simultaneously, it gives you a little bit of AD and a little bit of on-hit AD damage as well. And of course, we have Bork. Bork, of course, gives you current health on hit damage, really useful against tanks, also gives you attack speed and AD. Of course, you also get the Omnivamp, which is very useful, and the Ruin Strikes passive, also pretty handy, especially when you're in one-on-one fights. And then the last two items is kind of a little bit more flexible. Now you could go for more on hit by going for something like a Wit's End, gives you even more on hit magic damage. But normally last item is going to be somewhat defensive, right? So you have your GA, your Starex, your Twin Guard, things like that. And to replace Wit's End, you could go for a more offensive option such as not offensive, but yeah, I guess you could say more offensive. More offensive option like Bloodthirster, like Triforce, things like that, right? Shield Bow, I've tried it out as a last or second last item. It gets outscaled when you reach the later part of the game, so I would say if you're not going for it as first item, you probably don't want to build Shield Bow. So for the runes, standard ADC loadout, lethal tempo for the attack speed and range, brutal cause you auto attack a ton, giant slayer to counter the tanks, alacrity for the attack speed, as well as bone plating for the defensive capabilities. And for your spells, you want to go for flash, as well as cleanse or exhaust if you don't need cleanse. Or barrier kind of works as well if you prefer that. But with all that out the way, let's jump into talking about the gameplay itself. Okay, so let's take a look at our gameplay itself. So, on hit Tristana, of course you really only want to go for this kind of build if there are, tanky champions on the enemy team. So in this case, you have Darius, you have Thresh, and you have Galio, who even when he builds AP is still relatively tanky, at least compared to like a normal squishy mage, right? So, on hit build seems pretty good here. So that's what we're going to go for this game. We also have Emilio in this game, which is very helpful with the on-hit build, because with the on-hit build, of course, a lot of your damage still does come from your bomb, which is on your E. However, a lot of the damage comes from auto attack. So with something like Emilio giving you that bonus range, it does two things for you. Now, of course, as we all know, Tristana's passive is she gains a 10 range every level, right? So there is basically, Emilio is normally good with two groups of ADCs, right? The first group is ADCs who have very high range, right? Champions like Jinx and Caitlyn, so that's gonna make their high range even higher, so they basically outrange anybody without any contest. The other group of champions that Emilio is good with are the low range champions, like for example, Lucian, because low range champions are balanced around having low range, so giving them extra range means that they can get off high damage from further away, right? So those are generally the champions that Emilio is good with. However, Tristana is kind of both, right? And it's both because of her passive, right? As we just covered, right? So in the early game, she actually has lower than average ADC range, right? So in case you guys didn't know, I made a video on this, I think at this point over a year ago. I'll link it up in the cards right now if I can actually find it. But basically, there is a kind of standard ADC range that most ADCs have, right? So every ADC has, not every, but almost every ADC has the same range. So for example, Vayne, Jhin, Jinx's, Minigun, Kaisa, all have the exact same range. So only some ADCs have a bit longer range and some ADCs have a bit shorter range. For example, Caitlyn has, of course, quite a bit longer range. Ashe is somewhere in between. And then Lucian and Samira have shorter range than that, right? So generally, of course, Tristana is on both ends of the spectrum. Why? Because in the early game, she actually has shorter than average range, right? So in the early game, she will get outranged by someone like MF here, for example. She'll get outranged by almost every ADC. Maybe not a Lucian or a Samira, but other than that, everyone else outranges her. However, in the late game, when she reaches like level 15, she actually has the longest range out of all the ADCs. So she has longer range than Caitlyn, for example. She has, I think, the only champion in the game that outranges a level 15 Tristana is Jinx with Rockets. If I'm not wrong, it's Jinx with Rockets has the highest ADC range. Tristana level 15 has the second highest ADC range, and then Caitlyn has the third highest ADC range. This is of course talking about late game, when Tristana's level 15, when Jinx has 4 points into her Q, things like that. Of course, Caitlyn has the longest base range. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that Tristana benefits from Milio, both in the early game from having her short range made not into a short range, and in the late game from having her long range made into an even longer range. So essentially, I think, Milio is pretty good for Tristana, and you also don't really have to jump in, and you can kind of just stay behind and just attack. But even if you do jump in, Milio can of course attach the rope, the string to you, and then he can give shields to you while maintaining a safe distance as well. So it kind of just all works out one way or the other. So here we're trading in lane. Thresh is taking a ton of damage, gets the maximum bomb damage. In comes Lysandra for the gank. However, they're basically fine, right? MF pops the heal, they get the movement speed, Thresh gets healed up, and nothing too much really happens here. So far in the lane, all that has really happened is Milio did cop a death. Master Yi now coming into the lane for some reason, but not too much else is happening. Hook goes in onto Milio, who's pretty low health. Here we top on top of the Thresh's hit. He's tanking tower, he dies to the tower. Master Yi now on top of me. Milio is shielding me and healing me and saving my life, and Master Yi ends up going down. Now Miss Fortune is getting chased down by my Tryndamere, and she dies as well. So super duper botch dive by the enemy team allows me to get a kill and an assist, and also allows Tryndamere to run down the kill onto MF, and basically all of them end up dying. Now I have to say that it was a relatively okay dive attempt, right? Like Thresh hook into the Miss Fortune ultimate did work out pretty well, but Milio was able to get out of the way in time. And similarly with Master Yi, he almost killed me, but Milio was able to heal and shield me, and I was able to get out of the MF range in time. So everything sort of kind of just worked out in our favor. It could very easily have been the complete opposite, where we both just get one shot instantly and the enemy team gets very far ahead. So I wouldn't really blame them too much, for going for that dive. I think that there was quite a decent chance of success there. So you can see here, we're not really jumping in onto MF Thresh pretty much ever, because MF has really high early game damage and Thresh has a ton of CC. If you dive in on them, you're pretty much gonna get yourself killed more often than not, right? So, sometimes with Tristana, when you're playing with an aggressive support like the Leonas and the Nautiluses of the world, you can just jump in on repeat and just murder people and snowball. But when you're playing with Enchanter, sometimes you gotta take a step back. You gotta be a bit patient with it, and you have to kind of wait for your moment. You have to keep farming up, wait for your moment to go in, and then get the job done. So here, huge fight is breaking out at the dragon area. Now we're kind of at the opposite side of the fight, so I'm really just hitting whoever I can reach, so that I don't put myself in any unnecessary danger. Thresh hits the hook onto me. I'm gonna have to go unstoppable. I flash over the wall to make sure I'm not in danger. Master Yi has gone in all the way to kill the Milio. I'm gonna have to hop away before the any more CC actually hits me, and I'm able to kind of get out safely. I'm gonna loop all the way around the fight in case my team is still going for the fight. Now, the enemy team just all drops the dragon, right? Because Master Yi is dead. Now, Lysandra is trying to do the dragon by herself, and the issue is that Tryndamere is not interested in the dragon. He's simply pushing tower. Now, if I'm gonna be honest here, I don't really blame him, because a tower, a mid lane tower, and the tower plates you get from it are way more valuable than a dragon, like, truth be told, right? But Lysandra basically doesn't get the memo, and just she's hitting the dragon expecting her team to follow up, right? I see that my jungler is not doing it, so I'm gonna recall, reset, get items, and get back my resources, and then get ready for the next fight, which happens to be right here. So here I'm trying to kill Galio and get a reset, but Galio actually survives. Now Master Yi, as well as his bot lane, thinking about going for another dive, not gonna do it this time. Thresh flashes over. A lot of low 1 HP targets here. Master Yi ends up going down. Thresh is really low as well. And I'm really just trying to get, you know, some kills, any kills, but MF just ults the entire wave. I'm not going to be able to get anything except from a partner dragon. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, we do eventually end up with the dragon because Master Yi dies again. I'm not sure why MF decides to come so close here. We end up getting to kill her. Now I will admit it was actually really close because she was on the Dustblade spike, whereas I had not yet back from my item, so she did nearly kill me. I actually think probably she would have killed me, so maybe that was not such a horrible idea after all. So yeah, she does just do a lot of damage with the Dustblade, of course, which is to be expected. But yeah, so here, instead of going top where the wave is already pushed in, I'm going to go mid and attempt to defend. I say attempt because as you guys can see, I'm not very successful whatsoever. But instead I'm just going to quickly collect the wave that has crashed into tower while I'm here, and then I can rotate to top, back to top since the wave is now neutral. Now the issue is that because I kind of helped to clear mid lane, Lissandra kind of has no minions to farm, and she decides to want to go top as well, which we could let her go top and we stay mid. Now Thresh uses his spells onto the minions, so here is an opportunity to get something done. Right, by going in onto the Thresh actually hits me in mid-air, and we nearly die to MF ultimate, but somehow we actually survive. I say somehow, but the somehow is Milio, right? Milio healing and shielding allows me to survive. I think this is like the third time MF has hit a pretty good ult, but just was not able to finish the kill because of Milio, right? So Milio has definitely saved my behind a number of times this game, and of course that's great, right? So we still have yet to actually die this game, which is actually pretty surprising, all things considered. So here a fight is happening in the mid lane. Darius is running my team down, and thankfully we are able to eventually get the kill onto him and help out our team. However, Lissandra does end up dying to the Darius passive poison. I'm going to have to quickly rotate back to top to catch this minion wave that's about to crash into tower. And we still have yet to get top tower. You can see all 4 people on the map, so this is actually a relatively good time to push for top. However, now we actually lose vision of the people who were in mid lane, and they probably would be rotating to top because there's nothing to really do in mid anymore. Now here comes Darius taking the teleport as well. We're going to quickly get the tower, and we're just going to quickly run away. We're not going to stay for the next wave because we're going to encounter Darius and perhaps the rest of the team. Right, here we saw Thresh did indeed rotate from the mid lane, and is now at top. So if we pushed any further, wouldn't have been so good for us. So here we have nothing to farm, right? Because all our waves are kind of far away. The enemy team's waves are far away, so we're just going to go ahead and farm the jungle. Now that the next wave is here, we're going to go grab that one as well. And now we are going to get a reset. Now we can see the Darius and the Thresh in the top lane, but we're not too interested in that. What we are interested in is completing our Runaan's Hurricane, our second core item of the on-hit build, and hopefully find a fight where we can make use of the Runaan's Hurricane. I do think a lot of mid-game skirmishes tend to happen here, so it is very high likelihood that Runaan's is going to come in handy. If anything, it also helps you with the wave clear. So multiple people are in the top lane at the moment. Looks like a fight is about to break out there. However, on the flip side, Galio is split pushing the bot lane, right? So I don't want him to get a free tower while there's a fight happening in top lane. So instead, I'm going to catch the wave here and prevent him from pushing too far. And whilst the wave is pushing back out, I'm just going to farm the Crux here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I suspect Galio might hide in the bush at the middle of the lane. And when I get near, he's going to combo me and maybe one-shot me, right? So he does have 2 AP items already, so he does do quite a bit of damage. I'm not going to take that risk. My team seems to be fine without me. Aatrox has got a triple kill. And instead, I'm just going to farm the minions, farm the Crux, farm at a safe location. And here the fight continues with Aatrox and Milio barely, Aatrox I guess you could say barely surviving, and Milio having to help the Aatrox out. So now both Dragon and Baron is going to spawn really soon, so now it's the time to like reset and get resources or buy items. But since I don't really have anything to buy, I'm just going to stick on the map while the rest of my team resets. And of course, whenever Baron and Dragon spawn at the same time, you always want to be careful because the Baron for Dragon trade is always going to be a thing, right? So most teams will run straight to Dragon, and then the other team can get the Baron for free if they are in position, right? So Here you can see it's exactly what Tristana is doing, right? He pings the dragon right before it spawns, runs straight there, and now if I were the enemy team, I would be running to Baron and doing it as quickly as I can, right? Instead of contesting the dragon, which is essentially useless. Right? However, because I can see a couple of enemies, I don't think that they actually are on Baron, so I think that we're fine here. Now we're actually pushing them off the mid wave, which is pretty funny. Tristana now is actually taking the gate and starting off the Baron. I'm not sure about doing Baron when the entire enemy team is alive and we're not insanely ahead or anything like that, right? So we walk to Baron just to get polymorph. Now the enemy team realizes we're doing it, they're kind of running in, and it's getting to be a very iffy situation. Darius is running all the way in. I actually get interrupted on my jump, and here you can see a huge team fight from my team. I'm just getting kills left, right, and center. I get a triple kill. We get the Baron, and this is kind of the huge turning point of the game, right? Killing 3 people, both other people at 1 HP. We can see Master Yi and Darius both at 1 HP. I guess it was a possible pentakill, but I wasn't really trying for it. And with the kills that we got and with the Baron, we can push down the mid lane. I mean, Baron minions are not even here, but we can push down the mid lane. We obviously cannot really end or anything like that because the Nexus shield is still up and available, so I'm not gonna waste time. With that top lane, the minions are kind of getting the tower. I'm just looking to get a reset. The towers are probably going to be the two remaining tier 2 towers will probably be taken by minions. Yeah, Tristana gets it. The other one unfortunately doesn't die to minions as Galio is able to clear. And now my team makes the classic mistake of overstaying, right? We just got a bunch of kills. We just got Baron, we just got some towers, we just got Dragon. Just reset and get some items. Stop fighting. So you see here my whole team is trolling, they're fighting, they're giving away shutdowns, they're giving away gold. And you can see, yeah, basically everybody dies. Only me and Milio as well as Tristana is left alive. Well, I guess not everybody, right? But 2 people died for no reason. So here now, there's not too much to do, right? With 2 people dead on my team, it's very risky to push up too far. Because you could find yourself in a fight that you're badly outnumbered and there's not going to be a lot that you can really do about it since your teammates are literally dead. It's not even that they could be nearby or no one knows where they are, but it's literally that they're off the map, they're dead. Right? So this is pretty dangerous. However, Tristana is creating a point of pressure on the opposite side of the map. So here you can see I'm pretty much ignoring the Thresh. I'm just going for the in-hit. Now I'm actually going for the Thresh because we know that the rest of the enemy teams are on the other side of the map. So here I do have a little bit of time to get into a fight. However, since Tristana is no longer causing a distraction, they are all going to rotate here and we just have to hop out. Now while on the way out, we're going to quickly, of course, steal the enemy jungle. We see the blue buff here, we're just going to grab that for our team. And here there's only 1 inhibitor left, right? So ideally what you probably want to do is, even though you don't have Baron or anything, there's no objectives up, you probably want to be forcing it. But however, Milio here gets caught out, gives the reset to Master Yi, and now I really have nowhere to run, and we end up getting caught out here. However, Tristana in the meanwhile is trying to end the game. So if we maybe wasted a little bit more of their time, which is what Lissandra here is trying to do, maybe he could get it, but the minions run out, and unfortunately he doesn't actually get it. And it's now kind of a disaster because now we're dead, now our jungler is dead, Aatrox is dead as well, and Lissandra is having to run for the hills. Now honestly, Lissandra is not really even ahead, so her life is not really as important, I guess. She doesn't really do very much damage. She has Crown, so we do have that, but now we have Dragon as well as Baron spawning really soon. Somehow my team has actually secured both the Dragon so far, so we are on soul point for getting the Mountain Soul, which, as I said, is not very important. Now myself and Milio are now back up and running, and Baron is coming up in 5 seconds. Now the issue is that our jungler and our top laner are not alive when Baron spawns, right? So there is always a chance that we will have a situation where the enemy team is rushing Baron, and that's exactly what's happening here. You can see Darius is doing the Baron. Thresh is now making his way in as well. Whole enemy team is now on Baron. Here I'm trying to hit them over the wall with the Milio range. I don't really want to hop into the pit or anything like that. Until now, my whole team is here. I'm focusing the Baron. Tristana actually gets the Baron. I'm now jumping in, ready to get off my damage. I'm stuck in the pit, but I'm in the back line, trying to get rid of the MF. Milio unfortunately ends up dying. I think I'm gonna end up dying as well, but I end up picking up 2 kills. So in the end of the day, it is an ace for the enemy team, but we did get the steal onto the Baron, so it's beginning to be a pretty exciting game, I guess you could say, because the enemy team is not going out without a fight. They are definitely fighting back. So Darius and Gallagher are left alive. Now with our Baron and with the fact that they have 2 inhibitors gone, this means that they're going to be in quite big trouble, to be very honest, because with Baron waves, super minion Baron waves pushing in on 2 lanes, it will mean that it's very hard for the enemy team to defend. Now, in the meanwhile, Darius is having none of it. He's just going for the dragon, right? The dragon is of course going to give an objective bounty, as well as denying the soul for our team. So I kind of get why he's doing it. His team also is going to respawn to defend, so he's not going to lose the game from getting the dragon, right? So he does get the dragon, which denies us. However, you can see Elder Dragon is now spawning in like 10 seconds, right? You can see the enemy team here is struggling to clear the wave in mid and the wave in bot, right? Opposite side of Elder. So I'm going to quickly just take the Hex Gate up, and hopefully we can get the Elder Dragon and use that to demolish the enemy team and end the game. So here Tryndamere is setting a trap for the enemy team, spins in onto the MF. Now we're focusing the champions instead of the Elder. Now we got 2 kills. Now we're just running down the entire rest of the enemy team. Tryndamere has already a double. Lissandra may be going in, doesn't look like it. And now the enemy team is going to have trouble defending. So here you can see I'm trying to hit the Nexus and end the game, right? All I want is the win, right? So here I'm just hitting the Nexus. I'm getting zoned away by the enemy team, but the minion last hits the Nexus, and we do get the win without even getting the Elder. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you so much for watching the video, and bye.